Hi folks, John Dunn here, RPG freelancer, publisher behind Melee. I am up here today at Immortals Inc. with Mikey.
What is up, John? What could we possibly be talking about today?
Well, I thought we'd talk about some big, honkin', punchy, fun, giant, smashing robots.
I like all of those adjectives. I mean, that's great.
It's fun, right?
It is.
We've talked giant robots and kaiju before, and we have some new material that really just released that is about giant, magical punching robots.
Wow.
And they're fighting giant monsters.
Like Power Ranger Mecha on steroids?
Well, that is an option. It is the Mechageddon Adventure Path for Starfinder. This just came out. I think this is going to be one of the last products that Paizo does for the first edition of Starfinder. And this is very specifically devoted to having a campaign that is all about player characters piloting mecha. And because it's Starfinder, they're magical mecha and using them to defend a civilization from the dangers of giant monsters. Jenny Jarzabski, my apologies if I mangled that name, was the project lead on this. She's got a whole lot of Starfinder and Pathfinder credits, including the Scoured Stars AP that we talked about before, and also Tech Revolution, which we haven't talked about before, but we're going to have to mention today. There was a large team of folks who worked on this, which is usually the case for any Paizo product. So I said it's an adventure path. I said it's focused on mecha. It's probably going to run you around 12-ish sessions if you're playing 3 to 4 hour game sessions to work your way through. There's only 3 adventures in the book, but each of those adventures have a whole lot of subunits, and most of them are going to take at least 4 game sessions. Some of them might take a bit more than that. Player characters start at 3rd level and go up to 18th. There's some suggestions for ways you might want to play through the first couple of levels that you could even adapt some stuff in here, but maybe some groups would just have a lot of fun making characters that start out at 3rd level. It's set on a planet called Dimalco, and the central city of this world is called New Valor. On this world, you have Valkos, which are your giant mechas, and Huskars, who are the mecha pilots. And then you have giant monsters that are trying to eat everybody, and those are the Colossi, the kaiju. The PCs are Huskars piloting Valko, who are as members of the New Valor Defense Force. Really kind of a Robotech-y feel.
Nice.
That's not getting too old school. We've talked about Robotech before. This is kind of a magical sci-fi Robotech. There's also some definite Pacific Rim elements when you're talking about fighting those kaiju, and there's definitely an Attack on Titan vibe here too, because New Valor has its wall that secures the city, and the characters are, members of this defense force that secure the wall and go out and explore beyond it. From a rules perspective, you're obviously going to need the Starfinder core rules. You're also going to need a book called Tech Revolution. Tech Revolution, I mentioned it earlier, that has the mecha rules for Starfinder, and the campaign's really dependent on having access to those. Fortunately, because so much of Starfinder content is available through their open source license, all the bare necessities of what you need are available through the Starfinder resource document, and that's all available online. So if you don't want to purchase the Tech Revolution book, that's available. It's a lot prettier in the Tech Revolution book, let me tell you. There is a free player's guide in PDF available from this for Paizo, so if you pick up this book and decide you want to run it for your players, the players can go ahead and grab that book. They also talk about Session 0 and have people sit down and talk about their characters, but also talk about their ideas for their mecha. And one of the things I've never seen before mentioned in a thing that you might want to do right after that is have the group sit down and consume some media together. Specifically, sit down and watch some giant robot movies.
Yeah, I mean, Godzilla -1 just came on Netflix.
Yeah, and that's a fun time too.
Yeah, I just watched that yesterday.
Yeah, I really dug that. No robots though, just kaiju.
Yeah, just.
But in any case,
kaiju.
In any case, that kind of stuff to make sure everybody's on the same thought line about what they want to do with those is probably fairly important for this one. Part of those mecha rules in Tech Revolution includes designing mechs. So in addition to making characters, your players, if you want, can also design their mecha, right? And I thought that was kind of a cool element. And then as you're reading through the campaign, they very clearly note which scenes are ones that are designed for a group of players while they're piloting their mechs, as opposed to those that aren't. Obviously, those scenes are balanced rather differently. And they do have some suggestions, though, about what you might need to do if the players show up with mechs when you didn't expect them to, and vice versa. Talking about these mechs, one other thing that's kind of cool, right? You mentioned Power Rangers.
Yes.
Some of these mechs can transform. So that's an option when you're thinking about this. If you want one that transforms into particularly a starship, that's kind of a focus part of the campaign.
You do a Transformers type of gig too, with like a car.
Yeah.
Straight up futuristic Mustang.
There you go. And you can also do combiners, right? So if you want to have your group have a robot form that turns into Voltron, that is absolutely an option here too. It's also worth mentioning this campaign is kind of set to happen in a very sequential series of events where this scene drives them forward, and then they're going to be making decisions, and the bad guys are going to react to those. So they don't have a ton of downtime in between the different adventures. Because of that, there's two things to keep in mind. One is that they recommend that they use milestone XP, so they don't give you individual XP awards at certain points in the campaign. After they hit certain goals, the characters are probably going to level up. And similarly, they recommend that the game master just say, here, you get this equipment, here you get this equipment, and just make the equipment part of the rewards for the adventures so that you're not constantly focusing on the characters going shopping.
Yeah, that's a good way to do that.
Yep. They also talk about leveling up your mecha and your starship in the same way, because those are things you're going to need. Before we get into actual adventure content and the spoilers that come with it, I'm just going to jump to the back of the book and mention that there's a gazetteer of Dimalco and New Valor. So you do get some solid information about using those as central parts of the campaign setting, and New Valor is very much a sandbox. You get an expanded catalog of mecha, so there are some in that Tech Revolution book, but there's more here. So if you don't want to design all of your own, there's some options. You get a few more mecha rules and components for building your mechs. And then you get the monsters here as well, which obviously include the Colossi of Dimalco. And these are these massive monsters that you need a giant magical robot to punch down.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. All right. And here come the spoilers, right?
Spoilers.
So 3 adventures here. The first one, Act 1, is Colossus Clash. In this, the characters go from levels 3 up to 8, with mechs from tiers 3 to 7. It starts out with a graduation exercise. So they're out on the proving grounds and demonstrating their capabilities in their mechs. And once they succeed at that, then they move on and are assigned to a tour of duty. That's kind of at a remote outpost where they uncover some weirdness in the Colossi that they're fighting. But they also have some really flavorful role-playing, some stuff here that does remind me of really some of the Robotech episodes where you see team building happening and the characters going out and just interacting with each other and forming rivalry with other groups. And then after that, they get to attend a ceremony, the Eternal Valor ceremony, where they first off encounter transforming mecha, and the ceremony's interrupted when the Colossi attack. After that, we move on to Act 2, which is Chains of Fame. This one's for characters levels 8 up to about 13-ish, with mecha from tiers 7 to 12. And in this part, the characters start to become famous heroes. They get assignments as ambassadors. They get their own merchandise line, including toy robots.
Holy crud.
Ain't that the dream, right?
Yes.
And they get to fight off space pirates their mecha that at this point transform into starships, right? They get to travel off-world. They get to field test these mecha against a whole lot of other things that aren't just the Colossi back on their home of Dimalco. and they get to acquire data in the course of this. And there's some extra scenarios here that are in the back of the book, basically side jobs that you might want to weave in here to give them just some more experience interacting with the mecha and other things. And in the course of this, they uncover a demon cult back on Dimalco. And after they do that, they get to star in a rock opera.
Wow.
Yes, because we need the Min-May Robotech moment here. Act 3 is the 13th hour, where you find out that the corporate sponsor that they've been working with has actually opened a portal to the demon realm back on Dimalco. And the PCs, as it turns out, need to work with the Colossi to protect the planet from those demons. And then the big bad turns out to be this executive that they've been working from, who turns into a demonized mecha, and they need to work with the Colossi to defeat her and stop her from basically destroying the planet and civilization as we know it there.
Wow, demon mecha. Couldn't get any worse.
Back of the book, then you've got some stuff on demonic corruption and a bit on Shivaska, who is the demon lord that's behind this whole plot. It's about 180 pages. It's hardcover, full color, some gorgeous art, just like we've come to expect from Paizo throughout. And it is $60. Got copies here on the shelf in Immortals Inc. If giant robots punching dragons and demons and other horrific monsters sounds like fun to you, stop in and check this out. I think it'll be well worth your time.
Sounds like fun to me. Well said, John. Check it out. See you guys next time.
Till next time, folks. Good gaming.